Hello my friends, welcome back to Kev's Hobby Showcase. I'm of course Kevin. You may have also seen me on Tabletop Jones Productions, where John and I are the two idiots playing board games. And today I'm continuing the painting series for the Battletech mercenary company, the Eridani Light Horse. So last week I basically had a lance of battle mechs, and today, well, usually second time you move on to vehicles. So first we have the Drillson hovertanks. And it's got a pair of those, and then I got a pair of the J. Edgar hovertanks, light ones. All right, so like I was saying last week, it was supposed to be a base coat of olive green, which fortunately, well, I didn't have any left. Didn't even realize it. So rather than delay these videos, I just decided to use another shade of green. And honestly, there's a lot of these factions that do use green as a base coat, and that's part of the reason why I put the labels on all of these, is because a lot of them are going to look very similar because of that. So anyway, I do have, like I said, I do have a green ready to go, and it's going to be just that, basically. The gunmetal on the well, for the hover tanks, it's going to be gunmetal on what looks like a weapon, anything that looks like a cockpit window, and of course the part on the bottom that's supposed to be like, a hover tank is supposed to basically travel on this big cushion of air. So I'm going to use gunmetal on that as well, and then black for the touch up the base. I'm going to do the base in snow like I've been doing, because I do have a lot of it. And like I said, with the bases, when you do the bases, doesn't matter how you do it. You could use it on, basically use it anywhere on whatever terrain you're using, or whatever map you're using, because just because you're using snow doesn't mean that you can't use it. It's just for decoration, basically. So anyway, first I'm going to prime these pieces, and when I come back, I'm going to do the base coat. All right, so stay tuned, and I will be right back. Okay, I'm back, and the primer is now dry, and we're going to get started on the base coat. I should have taken out my handy device already, but I did not. Alrighty, let's get this show on the road. Oh, helps if you put the magnifying piece on the right way. Okay. Alright, let's point this down to my workspace. And away we go. Alright, now the one thing I learned with this already is these turrets, I mean, they make it so that they can move, but these turrets are pretty loose on these pieces. And matter of fact, there's on the last part, I actually had to do a separate take, because one of these turrets came flying off, and I had to go find it. So I just decided to just redo the entire take. Alright, so with the base coat, I'm going to get most of this, but I'm not going to get like the very bottom. At least I'm not going to be very thorough about that, because that is going to be painted the gunmetal color, because that's basically like the part that the hover tank's going to hover on. With these I guess I got to go from here. With these hover tanks, it's like essentially they're like traveling on like an air mattress, is what it kind of like looks like. And I think I've seen in movies like what a hover tank would actually look like. And it does look interesting, I'll say that. Although I'm not sure if it would actually be an efficient weapon of war, because in essence, I mean, unless you made this big cushion on the bottom, unless you made it very, very durable, I would assume that all the enemy would have to do to immobilize you is to take that out. I mean, obviously that's not something that's actually done in this game, because then, what will be the point of having them? So as you can see, as I'm painting this turret, it is actually moving. So I'm trying to be pretty careful with it, as careful as I can be. while still getting the paint on. Okay, well, it does move a little bit. Oh, well, actually more than a little bit. Well, like I said, I am trying to be very careful with this so that it doesn't come flying off. Oops, whoops. And of course, it's also better to not be butterfingers while you're actually doing it. Okay. All right, so basically this base coating is going to go pretty quickly, but then I got to wait for it to dry, of course. So, you know, when I do the whole thing, you know, about, you know, saying stay tuned and I will be right back, I mean, yeah, I'm back in like a matter of seconds on the video, but in reality, I'm usually waiting several minutes, you know, trying to make sure that everything is dry. And when I'm applying more paint, especially when I got to apply it on top of something I've already done the base coat on, which is the whole point of a base coat, is you put that down first and then you do whatever else you need over it. So yeah, so I got to make sure that, you know, it's all dry so I don't like rub off what I've already painted, which would be the base coat, of course. All right, one more, and then we take a bit of a break while this paint dries. And I probably should have given the primer a little bit more time, but yeah, it's not bad. Okay. Alrighty. Well, the time I'm doing this video, it's the weekend after New Year's, and I hope everybody had a nice New Year, and I'll talk a little bit more about that later. Alright, let me just check on what I just did. I want to make sure I got the... Okay, I did get that. Okay, alrighty. Well, get back in. Okay. Alright, so basically got to let that paint dry. When I come back, I'm going to start with basically do the gunmetal and touch up on around the base. Alright, so stay tuned and I will be right back. Okay, I'm back and that paint has had plenty of time to dry, and we're going to start on some of the details. Alright, so let's get to it. Actually, we're going to start on all the details. Okay. Alright, so like I said, get anything that looks like a weapon. And, well, anything that looks like a cockpit window. And then, of course, the hover cushion. Alright, so what looks like a cockpit window? I think it's this. Alright, well, so anyway, like I was saying before I took the break, you know, this is, when I'm doing this video, it's the week after New Year's Day, of course. And I do hope everybody had a nice one. I mean, you know, essentially I was by myself, you know, unfortunately. You know, my children were at their mother's. It was her time to be with them. Just always seems to work out, you know, to be this week. I mean, I was off. I had taken off. As a matter of fact, since the last bunch of years, I always take off, you know, the week between Christmas and New Year's. I mean, I do wind up spending that time by myself, but I do still like to have that time off, and I'm glad I took that time off, because I don't know if I talked about this in the video last week, but so yeah, so last week it was after Christmas, and it was that, you know, Christmas fell on a Thursday, so basically that Friday into Saturday we had a snowstorm. It was a significant snowfall, and unfortunately the mayor, who admittedly is on his way out, but still still has a job to do, didn't have any plows or salters out overnight. So there was a lot of snow and slush. Now, what I should have done was I should have waited until the very next day, when probably most of what was out was going to be either melted or actually plowed away, because trucks did get sent out, but they got sent out during the day on Saturday, and so I for those of you who've seen who've watched these videos, you see me, you've heard me talk about little bits of my my personal life, as because of the divorce, I do not have a car. Well, what I do in order to do my food and grocery shopping is I have a fold-up wagon that I use. So what I should have done, like I said, was wait until Sunday, but because I'm so damn stubborn and didn't want to do that on a Sunday, I went out on that Saturday anyway, practically dragging that wagon through the snow and the slush. Yeah, that was fun. Of course, the whole time cursing out the mayor for not having the streets plowed. Now, I will say it again, I could have waited, but as it has been pointed out to me, and I can't argue, I am stubborn and decided to do it anyway. Well, yeah, I was hurting all week, so glad I had the time off. So yeah. So there was a couple of things that I would have liked to have done this week that I didn't do because of the aches and pains. Spent a lot of my time just recovering from said aches and pains. But I like to think all in all I still had a pretty decent time off, and at least I'm ending it with my kids coming back to me. So, oops, so that's always good. Okay. Starting to look like I should have given this green paint some more time to dry off. Yeah, actually, cause you know, day I'm doing this is a Saturday, so now normally they come back to me and my son will go out and do the errands, but I decided not to do that, and besides, the kid deserves a break. I lean on him a lot. You know, he actually gives me a lot of help and assistance, and I just wanted him to know that it was appreciated. So I had all the errands already taken care of, and surprised him, but that I had breakfast waiting instead of us going out. We got to sit down and have breakfast. All right, so now we're done with the gunmetal. Now I'm going to touch up the base with the black paint. Yeah, and of course I touch up the base because, I prime them and all that. It's, I don't cover up, the sides of the base and all that. It was just, it's just too much work, and it's just easier just to do this. To just paint it black. Now when I do the base, there is, so basically it's all going to be on the sides. Yeah, so it's going to be not as much when I get to do the basing. Not as much as usual, I guess. But of course I do have to wait for all this to dry so I can do the labels. And like I said with the labels, I know I've said it probably every time I do these videos, but I'll just keep saying it. That's just my personal preference, so this way I can easily identify, all the different pieces. Because if I don't, I'm never going to recognize them really. And if I say I put, because I put it on the bottom just so that I can, know what it is while I'm doing all this. But if I were to just keep the label on the bottom, it would just be too much of a pain in the ass to have to keep turning the thing over to identify what it is. It's just easier to put it on the edges of the base, like I've been doing. Alright, just about done with this, and then I'm going to take another break, let all this dry, and do all the other things that I would. Alright, let me clean the brush a bit. Yeah, one of these days I'm going to invest in new brushes. All right. Okay, so I'm gonna let that paint dry, and before I come back, of course, I'm gonna put the labels on. And basically, once I come back and the labels are on, I'm gonna base it, and then do the wash, and then it's all finished. All right. So stay tuned, and I will be right back. Okay, I'm back, and the paint is dry, and the labels are on. So now it's time to do the basing and the wash. All right, so let's get to it. All right. So let's get all this ready. Okay. So basically, it's like for these bigger ones, it's going to be, well, maybe. There we go. Don't need to even put that much. I put too much on the one side. Okay. Yep. See, with some of the other tanks that I've done this, the ones that have the treads and the wheels, they would just have like a space underneath to get like a little bit extra, but not the hover tanks. The hover tanks are pretty flush up against the base, so there's really, there's really not a lot of room for the terrain basing that I do. But I still do it because it still looks pretty effective. Okay. Now these smaller ones do have a bit more room, but I probably won't need that much more glue. Alright, so try to get it to cover every exposed bit of the base. Okay. Now I was actually thinking about this a lot during the break, that eventually I would like to get, I know there are decals of all the different logos for the factions and the mercenary companies and all that. And I know someone did one time share the website, and I'm pretty sure, I know in one of my web browsers I have it there, just waiting to to go to. And when I am able to, I will order. I'll order for one faction first, probably for Davion. That was like the first force that I built, and probably one of the more well-known factions to choose from. Now, one thing I was hoping for, is that when I am finally ready to do that, that the decals are like, remember, I don't know if anybody remembers the old model kits, where the decals is like basically you it's like basically, you had to cut around it, and then you put it in hot water to get it to slide off of the paper, and then it was like basically the decal with a clear whatchamacallit, like a clear background or whatever, so that it looked like it was actually painted on the model. So I'm hoping it's something similar to that, or something exactly, actually not similar, I'm actually hoping it's exactly like that, because I have not had the opportunity to partake in that. Right now my finances are pretty precarious, so I got to be careful what I spend my money on. But, you know, one day that will not be the case. And when I do get that, now I'm not going to spend a whole video of me just applying decals, but what I will do is from that point on, I'll get the decals for whatever faction I'm doing the force for, and I will incorporate it in what I'm doing. But on my own, I'll take care of all the ones that I did before, so that they have the decals on them. And as I was yapping, I pretty much finished up. All right. Okay, so here we go. A lance of hovertanks for the Eridani Light Horse from Mercenary Company. Ready to deploy. Okay. Well, that's all I got for today. I hope you enjoyed this video. Excuse me. I hope that find this entertaining. I hope you enjoy what I talk about. And please go. Please like, subscribe, and share as much as possible. I am up to 58 subscribers. I would like to get to 75. Also, please go to Tabletop Jones Productions. We are currently at 31 subscribers there. Please do the same. Like, subscribe, and share. We do actually have a newer video up of John and I playing the first 2 turns of our game of Marvel Crisis Protocol. So please go there and do the same. We are up to 31 subscribers. We'd like to get to 50 so we can live stream games. And so just we'd like trying to build these. We're trying to build all these channels out. Also, please check out my Patreon. It is entitled it's titled Kev's Hobby Showcase Deluxe. I'm pretty sure I put that in there because I'm sorry, not deluxe, exclusive, because there will be exclusive content on there that you do have to become a member to see, which is basically the solo games. And mostly I've been playing Marvel Champions. I have been able to get some newer character decks as well as villain decks, so there's going to be a lot more variety of the matchups. And like I said, we're just trying to build up these channels to reach as many people as we can, and have a nice little community. All right, so anyway, thanks again for watching. Everybody take care of yourselves. Have a great day, and I will see you again.